So we've seen a little bit about creating custom classes, but let's add one or two other elements that we can work with. For example, perhaps what I want to do, if I open up my Files window and I go to my Assets, you can see that in the Files window there are some images. There are three in particular in here, and I can see them a little bit better in the Assets. And you can even stretch this out down a little bit more so that your preview is a little larger. Pit.jpg is obviously for the pit and the pendulum page, and we'll use it on that page. But then there's this PO banner, which is a larger element that I think will go across the top here. And we also have this one, PO cover. It's from the cover of the original Tales of Mystery and Imagination. And I'm thinking about placing this image right here inside the paragraph, and we're going to get the text to wrap around that paragraph. So first thing I want to do is to insert an image right up at the top, and it's going to be the banner that we have right here. So to do that, I think the easiest way, and since I'm not really dealing with layout very much, this is one single column, kind of boring but still effective, I'm going to just go where it says the Raven, and I'm going to press return, and you'll see that there's an empty container here. If we go to the code view, you remember from previous videos that we now have an empty paragraph with a non-breaking space, and it's just waiting for us to put something there. So this is a larger image, as you can see by the dimensions, 920 by 251, and if I were to drag that right there, the image tag accessibility, I'll just call this PO banner, and I'll click OK. And now you should see a larger image. If I collapse my icons here, we should be able to see all of it. And it's basically simple little image, part of the illustrations that came with the original Tales of Mystery and Imagination. And it is an IMG, or image tag. Great. Now what I want to do is to also introduce an image right here at the very beginning of this paragraph. So I'm going to open up my icons again, and I'm going to go this time to the PO cover. 300 by 300, it might be a little bit larger. So in order to get my text to wrap around this a little bit nicer, well, we might have to make these two paragraphs into one, just to illustrate the point that I'm trying to get across. So I'm going to take the PO cover, and notice I'm going to position my cursor right here at the beginning of the word the. And at this point, I'll just call it cover. Click OK, and now if we scroll down, we should be able to see some text starting at the bottom of the image. Well, that's not exactly what I wanted. I wanted the text to be all the way over here at the top. So I'm just going to collapse my Files window, and we're going to concentrate on the CSS styles for a second. Now, if I wanted to, I could universally state that all images look a certain way. But the reason I put in two images here is because I don't really want to make any changes to this image. I still want this one on top to act as though it was sort of a banner, and I have my navigation elements up here. I mean, I could have put the navigation underneath it if I wanted to, but I'm leaving this here. And I want this image to be set up differently from this one up at the top. So if I was to give you a little quiz, and if I want to make one element be different from all the other elements on the page, I would ask you, what should we do? And you should respond by saying, we will create a custom class. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up my icons here for a second, and we're going to create a new CSS rule. And this CSS rule is going to be a custom class. So I'm going to call this custom class dot, let's just call it float img. So floating an img, floating an image. So what does floating an image do? Well, let's take a look. First of all, I'm going to ask you to go to the category called box. And in the category called box, you'll see here where it says float. I want you to choose float left. Now again, like I said, applying is going to do nothing. We have to actually select the element that we want to apply this to, and then choose the class. So I'm going to select the image, and now after selecting that image, you'll see a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to collapse this because the class is all the way over here on the side. The images give you different information from the other ones we were dealing with. So I'm going to say class, and notice we have our poetry class from before, but no, I don't want that. We're going to now say float img. And what you can see is, well, some things have gone on that I'm not really all that happy with, and we'll see why in just a second. The problem being is that the image is larger than the paragraphs that I'm attempting to float. So there's a way around that. I can just go into my code view, and you can see here, before closing this paragraph, I'm actually going to remove the closing paragraph and remove the opening paragraph of the one after it, so that we can refresh this, and it should be one large paragraph. And now, as you can see, because we have one large paragraph, it has done exactly what we wanted it to do: float around the text. So that's really wonderful. We've created a nice way of integrating that image into one of the paragraphs that we've been dealing with. The only problem, though, is that my text is kind of touching the edge of this image, which is not really what I want to do. So when we come back in the next video, I'm going to take the float image class that we've created, and we're going to apply a little bit of CSS box model styling, and that's going to give us a little bit more padding around the elements, or margins around the elements. So come back in the next video and I'll show you more about the CSS box model.